Hello, and welcome back to the Collegian Podcast. We're your hosts. I'm David O'Brien.
And I'm Kylie McGovern. Welcome back to the pod. Today we are joined with our dear friend and producer, Emily. Emily, if you'd like to introduce yourself.
All right. My name is Emily Allgair. I'm a sophomore, double major in English and Communications with a concentration in media and journalism. I'm originally from Maryland. I'm like in between Annapolis and Baltimore, if anybody's familiar with the area. And yeah, that's pretty much all you need to know.
So, Emily, do you have any hobbies?
Yeah, actually. I'm a big music fan and a big movie fan.
What's your favorite movie?
Ooh, I have 3.
Oh, wow. I'm a big movie person, so this is good.
Whiplash.
That's a good movie.
These also are not in order, just putting it out there. But Whiplash, Almost Famous, and American Graffiti.
I'm so surprised Almost Famous and Whiplash are right next to each other. I wouldn't expect you to be a big Almost Famous fan.
I love Almost Famous. That's like what I wish my life was like.
Really?
Yeah.
I'd rather just be fully famous.
No, but
I've seen the movie.
Okay.
I'm kidding. Right? But yeah.
What's your least favorite movie?
Ooh, that's a good question.
There's this 3-hour long Cleopatra movie with Elizabeth Taylor. I don't know why, but I don't like it. No, Gone with the Wind.
I was waiting
Gone with
for
the Wind
it.
is
Yeah.
awful.
I'm so surprised that that's your least favorite movie of all time.
Gone with the
Obviously it's not great, but it's you're the only person I know who's been so avidly against Gone with the Wind.
It's awful. Nothing about it is good.
Not a big fan of Scarlett O'Hara, eh?
No, she's the worst. She just complains the whole time.
I mean, I do that every day, and
Yeah,
yet I still talk to you, so.
I don't know.
What's your favorite type of music?
I really like 70s. I don't know. I also like bedroom pop, even though I don't like the name of it.
What does that mean?
It's softer. It's Claro and stuff like that.
Oh, it's Cave Town.
Yeah.
Okay, that
Yeah.
makes sense. If I remember correctly, you're a big Fleetwood Mac fan, is that correct?
Oh, David, I love Fleetwood Mac.
Well, shout out to Miss Kathy O'Brien, in case she's listening in. A huge Fleetwood Mac fan. I'm sure she'd be very happy to hear it.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
I got a Snapchat memory 2 days ago of when I went to see them freshman year. Lindsey Buckingham was not with them. But
What a shock.
Yeah, shocking.
Fair enough. Sorry. After
Speaking
you.
of concerts, what has been your favorite and least favorite concert you've ever gone to?
Ooh. I don't know. I feel so I recently saw Annie DeRusso, which was I think my favorite concert experience because I knew every single song that she sang and was front row and met her before and after the show, and she remembered us and then looked at us during her set and kind of smiled at us, and that was really cool.
Did she wink and give a thumbs up?
She was playing guitar, so she couldn't give a thumbs up, but she did look over, and that was really cool. I don't know if this is it's definitely not my favorite concert experience, but I also went to see Girl in Red recently, and I like her music, but I'm not an avid listener. And she stage dived and then was guys, we gotta end it with a mosh pit, and went back into the crowd and moshed with these 13-year-olds. It was really weird, and I'm glad that I experienced it, but it was very weird.
Follow up, do you mosh?
No.
What would it take for you to mosh?
I don't know.
So let's say you make the love of your life, and they're I love moshing, and I really want you to mosh with me. Would you do it then?
Yeah.
So it's a possibility.
Yeah, sure.
Good to know. This is what the viewers want to know.
Okay, the hard-hitting questions.
So what's your least favorite concert?
I went to see Jack Johnson one time, and I fell asleep during it.
You fell asleep during a Jack Johnson?
I did.
You're we get it, there's banana pancakes.
No, I felt really bad, but I was so tired. It was tech week for a show I was in, and I was just exhausted, and it was at a kind of what's the place in Camden?
BB&T.
BB&T.
It's outside.
There's one in Maryland that's outside, and then there are seats in front of it. It's the same setup, and we were in the seats, and I was with my mom and my aunt, and I just it was like soothing music, and it was like the perfect temperature. It was like a cool summer night, and I just like crashed.
It was a cool summer night.
That's
the English half of your major right there.
Yeah, right there.
So you brought up Tech Week. How long did you do tech in high school? Were you from the beginning, or did it take something?
So I didn't do like tech. Tech Week is a term in theater when you do like the show every single night for a week straight before you open for an audience.
But you were a techie, right?
No.
Oh, okay.
I was a star.
Really?
I was on the stage.
You were on the stage. What was your role?
It depends on the show. Senior year, I was a stepsister in Cinderella.
Oh, that's cruel.
Yeah. It was kind of fun. I had like a fun wig. And like my costume was ridiculous. But it was like a peacock thing.
Peacock, huh?
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
Big fan of the peacocks in this house.
From what I've heard, it's very true. That's why I always wear like brighter colors when I walk in.
I was referring to the St. Peter's peacocks, but...
Oh, right. So was I. So you were in plays and everything. You're in musicals. What got you into that? Was it one of those things you were just one of those like kids who were really into it from the get-go? Like, what got you into it? What got you into showbiz?
I think I was like one of those kids that was like, I want to be Hannah Montana when I grow up. And so like I just liked singing, and I grew up with a lot of music like in my house. Like my parents, our one bathroom is like dedicated to the Rolling Stones.
Oh, wow.
And like we have a bunch of like signed posters everywhere, and like I grew up listening to like the Stones and like Pink Floyd, and like
every time I go to the bathroom there's some Rolling Stones.
I saw it coming. Like oh my god.
So what changed you from showbiz to more of a journalism kind of track?
My
I'm just picturing the sock puppets laughing now.
What sock puppets?
Oh, I forgot.
It's okay, we can...
We'll cut it out. We're leaving the joke though.
Yeah.
Okay.
My junior year of high school, I went to a writing conference at Washington College, and I like wrote like poetry and prose and stuff as like kind of an outlet. And then I liked writing, so I got an internship with my local newspaper. And that's where it like snowballed.
I would like to say for the viewers, Emily is one of the few people who's actually showed me her personal poetry that I've actually enjoyed. Not like on a notes app or anything, but I have read some of her poetry, and it's actually good.
Thank you.
So major props for that.
Aw.
Speaking of your town's newspaper, what kind of things have you written about? Like, what are some of your favorite things you've written about?
How often do you say extra, extra, read all about it?
Not as often as you would think, but I should start saying that more. When I like write a new article, I'll like post that on social media.
It sounds good.
I don't know. It's usually like the newspaper is about stuff that like happens in the community. So it's not so much of like, this is what the bill, like the legislature that's passing. It's like, this woman in this neighborhood wrote a book, like you should support her. So I wrote an article about some lady that wrote a book for my hometown. When I was in high school, I focused on like what was going on in the high school community. So like shows, sports. We got like a new athletic director my senior year, so I like interviewed him. My favorite opportunity that I got was I got to interview Paul Reed Smith of PRS Guitars, which is the guitar company that like John Mayer plays guitars of. I got to interview him, which was like really cool. And I like remember calling my grandpa and being like, I just interviewed Paul Reed Smith. And he was like, oh my God, that's so crazy. And it was like really cute. And I was like, oh, okay.
That's nice.
So that was really cool because he's from Maryland and was like doing a charity event. But yeah.
That's really interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
So, you're working on our podcast.
I am.
It's true. How is that as an experience?
It's actually really fun. Like, it's cool to kind of, like, teach yourself how to upload to, like, Spotify and all that stuff. And I like that we're, like, branching out our podcast media, if you will.
Yeah.
Like, our last episode was a Billy on the Street type thing. And so that was really fun to edit because I like video production. Because, like, I like producing, but podcast producing isn't, like, what I first think of when I think of producing. So it's cool to incorporate, like, video production into it. But I do enjoy editing the podcast and listening to your voices.
Well, we enjoy having you edit the podcast and listening to your voice. And that's why this episode, I'm so glad we finally got to do this. I'm glad the people get to hear your voice. The people get to finally hear behind the curtain. You're like the Wizard of Oz, you know?
I love that.
Yeah. Sorry.
I'm sorry.
After you.
What are some podcasts that you like to listen to yourself?
Ooh, I listen to a lot of, like, comedy podcasts. Like, two of my favorite drag queens have, like, an internet show, but then they also have a podcast, so I listen to that. And
how many drag queens do you follow if those are your two favorites? Like, what's the tier list?
Well, I don't know. I kind of, like, they're kind of their own entity together. And, like, they're the reason that I got into Drag Race. And so, like, they, like, set the bar. So they're always going to be my favorites, I think. But then, like, every season I'm like, oh, I want this person to win. I want this person to win.
Okay.
Yeah. But I'm not, like, a big drag. Like, I couldn't tell you, like, who won season 6, whatever. Like, I'm not that involved.
Fair enough.
But, so I listen to their podcast. I listen to two of my favorite, like, YouTube comedians. They are roommates, so they have a podcast. I listen to them. And then there's one called You're Wrong About that, like, deep dives on, like, different parts of history. So, like, the O.J. Simpson trial, Princess Diana, like, very interesting things. There was, like, the Tuskegee trial, the Satanic Panic of the 80s. Like, very weird, like, very broad topics. But
yeah.
I like the deep dive of them.
I noticed you left out one of your favorite podcasts.
Oh, well, obviously my favorite podcast is the Collegian Pod.
Oh, okay. Well, I don't know. We aim to please. Going back to earlier, is there any podcast you've ever listened to one episode of and you're just like, turn this off now?
Yeah. There's one, I can't remember what the name of it is. But it was like a true crime podcast.
Yeah.
And it was this girl that was like, oh my God. And I was like, I already can't do
They
this.
always do that.
Yeah.
And it's like, I just want to hear about some dude getting chopped up and thrown in a barrel.
Literally, like, I'm trying to go to bed.
Yeah, like, yeah, I'm trying to be lulled to sleep. Instead, I have to listen to these, like, to be like, oh my God, tonight we have a murderer. Oh
Yeah.
no. And then they're, like, drinking wine. It's like, you shouldn't be drunk on the show.
Yeah,
you know?
unless you're Drunk History, which, like, totally fine.
I love Drunk History.
I know.
Yeah, that show is, they get a pass for being drunk, for sure. Yeah. If you mind, or if you don't mind, sorry folks, do you have any hot takes to share?
Ooh, I do have a cold take.
Let's hear it.
Okay, I hate when people bike on the road. I'm very adamant about this. I know that you've heard me talk about this before, but it makes me so mad because it's like a sense of entitlement of like, I'm a biker, sidewalks are made for me, but I'm just as good and just as fast and just as deserving of heavy machinery, and you're not.
Here's my thing. I agree with you, obviously.
Right.
I think it should be illegal to cycle on the road, if I'm being honest.
Frankly, I agree.
But my thing is, it's not only an idea of like, oh, let me just jump in front of this car. It's like, you believe I'm not willing to run you over. Like, you don't know who the man in the car behind you is, or the woman, or the child. Like, they could snap at a moment's notice and just run you over. And you're arrogant enough to not only be moving in front of it constantly, but by going like 5 miles an hour in a 45. It's like you are asking to be hit by a car.
Especially if you're like wearing the garb.
I
Like,
hate it so much. That stupid neon outfit.
Like, you're not at the Cirque du Soleil. You're not at the Tour de France. Like, you're not...
I like the
don't know.
pronunciation there.
France. Yeah, I don't know why I said that. But
well, it's the correct way to say it.
thank you.
Yeah. They just are, like, the worst human beings alive. And, you know, like, in Dante's Inferno, they have, like, special circles for each kind of, like, sin you commit.
Yeah.
The bottom, like, it's,
Like,
you have, like, I believe it's, like, the 8th circle. I apologize if I'm incorrect, where it's, like, Judas, Brutus, and the devil. Right below that bad boy, you got yourself the cyclist.
Yeah.
But yeah, I firmly agree with you there.
I'm glad.
What do you think of the bike lanes?
Bike lanes are totally fine. Those are made for you.
Okay.
Stay in them. What's worse is when there are bike lanes and they still ride in the road.
Any society that is pushing biking in the United States deserves to be... I don't mean any society. I mean, like, cities. Bike lanes are just perpetuating bikers. Because you know what they do? They see the bike lane. They go, oh, I can bike in the street. And then they get in the middle anyway. And it's like, yeah, you have your good guys every now and then. But most of them aren't. And frankly, I feel bad for Europeans. Because, you know, I know a lot of people bike there. I just think we should ban bicycles from existing. The one caveat I'd give is you can bike in the middle of the street if you're on a unicycle. Then it's fine.
Yeah. I would agree with that. If you've, like, mastered the skill enough, like, you are entitled.
If you're juggling as you're going down the street.
Like, cars should pull over for you.
Yeah. I'll drop you, like, a dime.
Right.
This actually leads to a further question, and I apologize for getting a little off topic. How do you feel about mimes?
I find them intriguing.
Do you care to elaborate?
Sure. I think it's interesting that, like, that would be a hobby for somebody to pick up.
What if it's their career?
See, that's
so another thing.
I got
like,
sorry.
No, I'm just, like, shocked. Not shocked, but, like, it's surprising that somebody would be like, this is what I'm doing with my life. And, like, good for them. Like, I guess there's a market for it.
Yeah, I got in a very big argument one time. I believe it was with my roommate, but I may be incorrect, as you know, my memory isn't the best. But I discussed miming as a career, and they responded that no one would ever make that a career, and that it's purely a hobby. And I'm not sure which is actually worse. So you're either miming for fun in the middle of the street, which is like, how are you enjoying this? Like, who, like, wakes up in the morning, they're like, time to pretend I'm in a box, you know?
Yeah.
Or you're doing it for money, and it's like, just work at a construction company, you know? Like, please stop miming in the street.
What if they're economically forced to become a mime?
How would that occur?
Okay, you just said work for a construction company. What if they don't have the physical abilities?
Kylie, while I respect your effort to check my privilege, I would have to say that of the street performing arts, miming is the lowest form.
Maybe.
There's other ways to do it.
What about those people that are like statues? And
I like those! Those are so much fun!
They're like...
Yeah, and then my favorite is sometimes, you know, you don't notice them and they get a little box that looks like a podium and then you're walking by, then they move and you're like, holy shit, it's awesome. I like those ones. No, like, I would rather see a street statue guy than a mime, for sure. Or, like, you know, when you go to New York, you see people dressed up as, like, the Grinch or whatever walking around, like, that's fun, too.
But they always ask you for money. It's like, you take a picture with them and they expect, like, $20.
So you just like mimes because they're silent.
Yes.
Poor people should be like mimes.
Wow, Kylie, really showing your true colors on today's show. I don't know, I just feel like if you can't afford socks, it's like, I feel bad for you. And, you know, you can do anything you want, but you can't mime. You just can't do it.
We should get a mime on the show.
They won't be able to speak, Kylie. They'll have to act everything out for the show.
No, but, like, people who are mimes, like they have times when they're not miming, right?
Vocalics is not their language. I'm sure that they have other ways of
Wait, what?
communicating. Vocalics is not their language.
Is that what it's called? How did you know that?
English major.
Oh.
Smart.
No big deal.
I don't think that's English.
So, like, they mime always?
I don't know, but, like, I'm saying, like, if you're a mime, like,
What if you starve? You're eating so much imaginary food, and you're like, I'm full, and then it's over.
Or, like, do they, like, hang up their, like, mime cap and they're like, time to go home for dinner?
So they're like, oh, that's not gonna go on the show. Well, you know, you can imagine what I did right there. Yeah, I don't know. I feel like mimes, I feel like they would definitely do it slightly too long, so it's annoying. Imagine you marry someone and then they reveal towards the end that they're a mime, and you have to like put up with that at your house. You're like,
but if you married them, you would know before that they.
I love the idea of
always
coming home
lying.
from a long day of work and being like, geez, like I'm really exhausted. And you're like, hey Mary, how are you? And then she's just like acting out being stuck in a box, and it's like, this is the 4th time this week. Like I just want to eat, you know? Like I feel like the mime grind must be very tenuous. or strenuous, or both in a lot of houses. Would you ever mime, Emily?
Again, like, if the love of my life was like, I'm begging you, please mime.
So what if your child needs a kidney transplant, but you don't have enough money, and the only way to make money is if a billionaire forces you to mime? Would you
Sure.
do that?
Yeah.
She's
What do
stuck in
we
the
have to do
box.
for the show to make you mime and then put it on the show?
Oh, I don't know. I'll have to get back to you on that one.
That's fair.
Maybe someday.
Do you have any hot takes?
Hot takes. Let's see. I think the black coffee is, like, looked down upon.
I don't think that's true.
I think it is.
I feel like there's a sense of superiority people
Yeah.
who drink black coffee have, and it's like, I like black coffee too. I'm not special, you know?
That
I
was
feel like,
it's a hot take.
yeah.
Literally.
Well, I think that, like, yeah.
Yeah, that's
I
good.
think that was good, Kylie. Good job. I feel like, yes, there's a superiority of people that are like, oh, I only drink black coffee. And it's like, okay, you are pretentious and whatever. But I feel like people that are like, ew, I could, like, if you're at a coffee shop and you want to order a latte, like, I get that. But if you're, like, at your hotel that has, like, free breakfast or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Like, black coffee being like, oh, I'm so tired, but, like, no thank you. Like, I don't know. I feel like it's...
I can agree with that.
If you drink coffee, you should be able to drink black coffee.
I
Like, it
think
doesn't have to be your preference.
There's also this, like, really annoying arrogance people have with coffee and tea, where it's like, oh, like, you need to buy, like, the espresso 5 million. Do you
Yeah.
know what I'm talking about? Or
Yeah.
it's like, oh, you're using Keurig, and it's like, where do you get off? You know, like, why do you have the sense of, like, need to drink, like, the finest beans on the planet? And I understand some reviewers may have a nice coffee pot. I know at my house I have a nice coffee pot. I love a good cup of coffee, don't get me wrong. It's good, it's fine, it's great. And I appreciate, like, effort in your food and your drinks. But it's like, there's something really annoying when you do go to a hotel. Someone's like, oh, they only have a Keurig. It's like,
Yeah.
bro, relax.
Or, like, if you're on a road trip or something and you're like, oh, like, can we stop for coffee? And they're like, oh, there's not a Starbucks nearby. It's like, girl, pull over to a Wawa or a 7-Eleven. Like, I'll drink the coffee.
Yeah.
I just need the coffee.
It's about energy.
Yeah.
You know what's not a good substitute for coffee? Any of those dumb energy drinks. They're very gross. I know a
Yeah.
lot of people, especially a lot of young college students drinking stuff like that. It's disgusting. Please stop.
No, I think that Red Bull, or maybe it was a Monster. I think it's the green Monster. I think that it tastes like battery acid
Okay.
and the blue Scooby-Doo snacks.
You were scaring me for a second.
No.
Yeah, no, I agree. There was always that kid in high school drinking like 10 Monsters a day, and it's like, how do you enjoy that?
It's like
Your
you're gonna have
liver.
a heart attack when you're like
Literally.
16.
It's just so gross. But yeah, any other questions?
It's all for me.
Any for us?
Oh, boy.
That's not personal?
You can
There goes
ask
all my
me a
questions.
personal one.
Oh my gosh.
Oh,
Okay.
dear.
What's the most embarrassing thing that you remember happening to you?
One time, I don't know, it was when I was in like grade school, and I was in computer class. Computer class, bad juju all around for me. But I was in computer class, and you know when you were younger, and they would only let one person go to the bathroom at once. Anyway, I'm about to pee my pants, but mind you, I'm wearing a Catholic school uniform, including a skirt and tights. Anyway, pee my pants, pee my skirt, pee my tights, etc. And you know, this school doesn't have any extra tights for me.
Oh.
So I just have to go the whole day in the middle of the winter with no tights, no socks, and everyone's asking me, what happened to your tights? What happened to your socks? And I just started crying every time they would ask me.
That is mighty embarrassing.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, maybe something worse has happened since then, but...
No, that's a good
That's
one.
a good one. That reminds me of in kindergarten one time. I don't know, like, I guess, like, they only let you go to the bathroom at once. Made me think of one time right before a field trip, which was, like, across the street from my school. Like, it wasn't very far. Like, we walked. We were going to a produce stand that I later worked at, full circle. But we were going to a produce stand to, like, pick out pumpkins for Halloween. And my friend had to go to the bathroom, so I went to the bathroom with her. And we, like, it was right before everyone was about to leave for the field trip. And we, like, went to the bathroom. And we came back and everyone was gone.
That's scary.
Like, they left
Yeah.
without us. And so then we, like, went up to the principal and we were like, hey, like, we're supposed to be on that field trip. And they, like, wouldn't let 6-year-olds, like, walk by themselves, like, across the street, which, like, fair, but okay. So they had to, like, escort us to the rest of the field trip.
Well, there you go. You had a special escort.
I did.
Yeah.
It felt so, like, empowering.
This
I'm glad
stuff.
escorts are empowering. Yeah, I mean, embarrassing stuff. I don't know. I know you didn't ask, but I threw up on a girl on the first date once. That was pretty embarrassing.
Oh.
You know, got in her car, was real nervous, and then I went, "Blah!" And then she turned the car around, dropped me off at my house. I walked home, I was covered in vomit, I walk in my house, and then my entire family is sitting in the living room, and they're just, like, speechless.
Wait, this happened at the beginning of the date?
Yeah.
So did you got right out of the car, or did you, like, go through the whole date with yak on yourself?
Dude, what do you think? Yeah, I went home. Well, I threw up. It wasn't just on me. It got on her car. And then, yeah, so I came home. My family was speechless. We didn't talk about it.
Was that, like, your first date ever?
Yeah, that was the first date I ever went on. And then, you know me. I made a joke about it in school, and then she heard I was making jokes about it. Surprisingly enough, not a second date. But, hey, it happens to the best of us. But that was pretty up there for embarrassing stories.
Yeah. That's a good one, though.
Thank you.
We're gonna title this, like, yakking, peeing, and, like, documentaries with Emily.
All right. Well, I think that's good. Any final comments?
Just keep listening to the pod. We have exciting things coming, so.
I agree. And Emily, thank you for taking the time out of your day to not only have to deal with all the editing and the publishing of everything, but also sitting down with us and having a nice conversation for the folks. We, as always, I just have to say, we do appreciate all the work you put on the pod. It's greatly appreciated. We couldn't do it without you, so thank you.
Facts.
So sweet.
Let's not get crazy. So yeah, if you have any questions, comments, or connections, feel free to email us at O'BrienD10@lasalle.edu.
And McGovern K8 at lasalle.edu.
Thank you so much for watching, and have a good one.